The Murder Game by Steve Lyons. The most requested, highly requested book I should read. Not just to do a video review, but this is like spamming years years ago. This was of people wanting me to read this book because I myself am a Patrick Troughton fan, a Second Doctor fan, his era, his seasons, and the Base Under Siege formula. So surely this should be my cup of tea because this is apparently the encapsulation. Well, it encapsulates what the Second Doctor is all about in this book right here. And oh boy, did people want me to read this. This is people I'm connected with Goodreads. I have no idea why it took me so long to pick up this book and say, you know, I'm going to give this a go. I was recommended this back in like 2014 to read. 2014, and it's 2020. We're in the mid of 2020. It's June. So I have no excuse. Yeah, a lot of hype did surround this book, and I was getting, maybe this is a pessimistic side of me, but I was kind of getting a little worried that maybe this is being too overhyped and it won't get the rating which I want to give it. But all that was just stupid nonsense, because as you can tell by the thumbnail, this is probably one of the best books I've ever read. And with Doctor Who, it's probably right at the top, #1. But I gotta read Nightshade again to compare, because I do love Nightshade. But just thinking it right now, I think I have to reread it again to make a concrete decision. But I would say this is better than Nightshade, and I would say I'm not confident on it. But I would say this is the best Doctor Who book I've ever read so far. And this is Steve Lyons, after all, who did The Witch Hunters, which again people give 5 stars. And everyone connected on Goodreads, everybody who's read this book has gave it 5 stars, including me. Because yes, it is a masterpiece and a love letter to the Second Doctor, who can be very difficult to get nailed in this sort of format. It's difficult. It's difficult to capture him. Similar to the Fifth Doctor, I would say, but here, Steve Lyons does it to a T. And with Polly and Ben as well, and their involvement in the story. I was very impressed. And yet, I know the Base Under Siege formula is a very well-known formula in the Second Doctor's run. It didn't feel formulaic. It felt something original, with one of the best formulas which Doctor Who has ever come up with, which is the Base Under Siege formula. It just goes to show how awesome this formula is, and how many stuff you can do with it. That's why it's just not of a formulaic formula, as it isn't. To this day, as I said, I would say this is the Base Under Siege formula is the best classic series formula ever conceived. The Murder Game is basically like Agatha Christie crossed with Doctor Who. The first half is that murder mystery style story, and then the story very well, might I add, very well shifts into what we see as the Base Under Siege story with the Salacians. It doesn't feel jarring, surprising. It doesn't just flip straight away and it says part 2 within the book. It very carefully and very slowly just fades into it. So it doesn't feel like the book is divided into 2 sections. It feels like a whole story right here. And I couldn't really say which part I did prefer, the first half or the second half, because it did feel like an entire thing it did. But I just loved the whole thing. But the Base Under Siege creepy well, it was even creepy in the first half. No, I take that back, actually. I take it back. I just loved it from start to finish, so it's difficult to pinpoint my favourite part of the book. I just love the whole bloody thing. What I do find frustrating about some Doctor Who books, maybe books in general really, sometimes they piss about too much. They take too long to get going. Faffing about with the supporting characters a little bit. Sometimes, because Dean Koontz is perfect with this when it comes to pacing, but that's irrelevant. This book doesn't piss about it, does it? It just gets straight to it. No faffing about. And that's what I love about this Doctor Who book. It just gets you right into the meat of the story. That's exactly what Nightshade did. Also, at the same time, implementing the mysterious factor of the story, which you don't really know what's going to happen. This is the book which I need to say less on as possible because it's extremely easy to spoil. Extremely easy. So I don't want to go through the supporting characters, their motives, how they act within the story, because that can you can kind of then work out who can probably potentially be, let's say, the bad person, the bad guy, the whatever in this book. Though I did predict and work out what the writer Steve Lyons was going to do with one in particular character, but to be honest, if I get too in-depth in talking about the supporting characters, I think it would actually ruin this book and the whole enjoyment factor and experience. So I'm just going to stay stone dead quiet on the supporting characters, but I'm not going to get into them because it would just ruin the entire mystery aspect and their involvements and their parts within the story. So, for one of the first times ever, I'm just going to keep that quiet and shut my mouth on them. Experience it for yourself. As I said in the thumbnail of this video, it's one of the best books I've ever experienced, Doctor Who wise. I would say, actually, in books in general. I've put it in my all-time favorite book ranking in my Goodreads section. It's extremely high up to be one of my favorite books of all time. What I will talk about is the Salacians. They've appeared, well, I know 3 times, 1 in Big Finish and 2 within the PDA range. They were mentioned within Killing Ground, which was kind of like a foreshadowing thing of the Salacians, which featured the Cybermen. Salacians were awesome. I was kind of thinking when just about picking this book that it would be similar to the Sontarans. They're not at all, and I would say they're better. I prefer them to Sontarans. That might be controversial, I don't know, but I would say they're a lot more cunning, strategic and planning, tactful. There was one scene which I did really like, where the second Doctor was trying to communicate with them. And I like the saying, actions speak louder than words. What the Salacians did, they just literally cut him off. So they were not taking any bullshit. They were not going to listen to the Doctor or any subtle manipulation to fool the Salacians. They were not having none of that. Which I really like because that kind of very subtly links back to their origin and what they went through as a species. That's why they're very cautious. They don't take any bullshit. To put it simply, the Salacians are a monster you can't really manipulate or reason with to beat them. And their history in this book explains their behaviour and why they act like that, which I've rarely ever seen expanded upon in any Doctor Who book or any Doctor Who monster. This book definitely gets tense when all the power's cut out. That's where you really do feel the atmosphere. And when it reaches the end of the 3/4 mark, tensions really do run high because of what's really happening with the hotel flying in space. I mean, it's a simple story itself of just the Doctor and the companions following a distress call to a floating hotel in space where a play or an act is happening of a murder. And then it turns out there is an actual murder. So it's a really fun way of throwing an Agatha Christie style story within Doctor Who. And then tensions really do high when the Salacians are somehow linked. I won't say what they want with the hotel or anything, but it was an incredibly fun, engaging, enjoyable book. And I would highly recommend it. If you're a second Doctor fan, I see why not giving this a go. Because I'd rate it a 10. Because there was nothing wrong. I had no issues with it. And that's really saying something with me, because 10 out of 10, I don't normally rate things 10 out of 10. I'm usually pretty strict when it comes to my rating, but I can see why people wanted me to read this book, The Murder Game, because it was a solid read, and I'm very happy I finally read it, even though it took years to read it. So I bet people on my Goodreads are very happy about that. 10 out of 10, absolutely amazing. Cannot wait to check out more of Steve Lyons' book, especially The Witch Hunters. If, I'm not sure how he will compare to this one, but maybe I probably will review it. It will probably be either The Witch Hunters or The Hollow Man, which will come next, so I'll probably leave it up to my audience, or I'll probably just leave it up to me, so we'll see what happens, really. So thanks a lot for watching my review of The Murder Game. I highly recommend it. Best I say not too much on it, because it's a very easy book to spoil, if I'm being honest. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. So have a good one, everyone.